Hey, welcome for anybody joining. We're just going to wait just about 2 minutes to get started here. Thanks for joining on. We'll give people just a couple minutes to stream in, and then we'll kick the webinar off. Maybe just wait just one more minute here, and then we'll kick it off at 11:02 here. Okay, we're going to kick it off here. So I'd like to welcome everyone to today's webinar here hosted by Qcells. Today's webinar is part of a new webinar series that we're launching, and it's called The New Era of Power. And today we're going to talk about energy procurement, and particularly what Microsoft is doing and what it's accomplished. My name is Nick Santera. I'm the Senior Marketing Manager here at Qcells. Our webinar is hosted by Vitaly Lee, who is the Chief Development Officer at Qcells USA. And Vitaly has been powering energy transition through renewable development for over 20 years. We also have Adrian Anderson as our guest today. He's a general manager of renewable and carbon-free energy at Microsoft and has been negotiating energy goodness since 2009. We're really excited to have Adrian here. And before I have Vitaly take over, there's a couple of quick housekeeping items before we get going. Number one, the session is recorded and the copy will be made available to you afterwards. So I'm sure that question will come up, but you'll get a copy afterwards. We also have a Q&A scheduled near the end, but feel free to drop in your questions in the Q&A section or the chat, and we'll do our best to get to those as we go through the event. Lastly, we're going to kick off the conversation with a poll. So there's a couple short questions, so please take a minute. We'll get those started. So let me start that here. I'll get that launched. So it should be launched. We'll give everyone just kind of a minute here to answer it as best they can. Hopefully they're not too tricky for Thursday morning. Got answers kind of coming in here. So right now we got mix between developers and energy procurement people, some people in finance. For that first question, what's the primary function of your organization? A lot of developers, it's kind of mix and match here, and some different solution providers. And then moving forward, how familiar are you with the state of renewable energy? And by a long shot, 81% say they're proficient, only 10% say they're an expert, and 10% say they're a newcomer. And the last question, how familiar are you with corporate energy offtake? And 48% say they're a newcomer, with 39 saying they're proficient. So I'm going to leave that open for a little while. People can answer that as they go. And let me just check my notes here. Let's see. Okay, so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Vitaly. Thanks so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. And with that, Vitaly, I'll let you take it away from here.
Thank you, Nick. You totally sound like a captain of a large airplane, so I felt very safe in your hands. Awesome, thanks. Well, Adrian, welcome. Everybody else also welcome, and thank you for joining. This is as Nick mentioned, our first in hopefully many series of different fireside chats. And really, it's a pleasure to have you, Adrian. You and I obviously way back. We've known each other for a very long time. And why don't I give you a few minutes to introduce yourself and what you've been up to, what you're working on, and tell us more about the exciting things at Microsoft.
Absolutely. I'm going to start out with a little picture because we have known each other for a long time. This is last year before. Vitaly and I were in Korea when we were putting together our Qcells deal and doing some other stuff. And we had an afternoon where we could go sort of go check out the old city and do some stuff. And apparently there were a number of teenage groups going out on field trips. And that's me there in the front with the hat on. Ironically, they all wanted to take pictures because for some reason they thought I looked like Justin Bieber or some part of a boy band. I was like, I'm way older. Don't look at me like any of those folks. They're much better looking. But so that's just sort of a little bit of levity. So
it was not for some reason, and I absolutely felt left out, I will say. But they asked me to take a picture of you, so
there were a number of groups too. It was like, yeah, it was different high school groups. So it was hilarious.
All right.
Anyways, yeah, I'm Adrian Anderson. I'm the general manager of carbon-free and renewable energy here at Microsoft.
Congrats, by the way, on your promotion. Very well deserved and awesome.
Thanks. I think we'll see how it all goes. We are, my team's remit is to ensure that we secure Microsoft's 2025 goals, which are to be 100% covered by renewable energy for every electron we consume in 2025 on an annual basis. We will then go out and procure 1 electron of renewable energy. That's our 2025 goal. Then we have a 2030 goal of being carbon neutral across all of our scope 2 emissions, and then across scope 3 as well. So my team is responsible for helping to develop our carbon-free strategy as it comes to energy projects. So, looking at advanced geothermal, batteries, SMRs, technologies, you kind of name it, we're probably looking at it or trying to figure out ways to bring it into our portfolio. For better or worse, this is my 4th tech company. I have been at Microsoft the longest, I will say. I've just started beating out my time at Apple. But I've had the pleasure and pain of working at Apple and Google and Amazon, and now here at Microsoft. And prior to that, I was an originator and developer for a German EPC firm for a number of years. So I've gotten to see it all from both the buy side and the sell side. And it's been a really awesome journey. I don't think I've ever seen markets in the electricity space in such a sort of set of conundrums as they are right now. Supply chain issues, permitting, interconnection, Ukraine crisis and things like that. So it's a really exciting time to be in this space, but it's also a super frustrating and challenging time. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, I would agree. I guess I know quite a few folks who probably dialed into this. They obviously read the announcement about the deal that Microsoft and Qcells recently announced. Do you want to say a few words about how that came about and what really it does for your company?
Yeah, I mean, ironically, this kind of came about. So I'll sort of go back, 18 months? Gosh, it's been 18 months, probably a little more than that. We were just kind of randomly having a conversation and thinking about how could we start addressing some of the supply chain issues that we're seeing for our sellers and things like that. Obviously, one of the big hot topics in PPAs right now is pricing, right? How are you going to do a fixed price with interest rates increasing? And at this time, it wasn't interest rates, it was supply chain and other pieces, delay timing, things like that. So I guess I was in a meeting with our senior vice president for our infrastructure team. And I just was like, well, why don't we just go out and start procuring or working with our customers and sellers and try to help, use our balance sheet and use our credit and use basically our name to go in and work with companies and create collaborative efforts. We really wanted to drive additional manufacturing capabilities here in the US domestically, but also abroad in other markets where we operate to try to go beyond just being a corporate procuring energy and push the energy economy in ways that we hope will help benefit everyone else. So raised this idea in a meeting. I didn't think it was going to go anywhere. And they were like, cool, fly to Korea and get this figured out. So the collaboration has been great. It is a collaboration. It's a partnership between us and Qcells and obviously Hanwha as the parent company. What we're really trying to do is create more certainty in our pipeline of projects, as well as drive more manufacturing capabilities here in the US. So providing that security to say, look, I've got 5 gigawatts of solar in my pipeline. I've contracted for it. Am I building it? No, I am not, but I am happy to make introductions and tailor my PPA to align, because a lot of times, TSAs, MSAs, all of your supply agreements that you do as an EPC contractor never freaking align with PPA terms, right?
Right.
Your provisioning are different, your timing is different. So we have the ability to work with our preferred sellers, like customers that come to us and that we really like, and we've done a lot of deals with. We have the ability to tweak our PPA as we need. That allowed us to then go out and work with Hanwha to say, yes, we want you all. When I say Hanwha, I apologize. I consistently refer to Qcells and Hanwha.
No worries. We are owned by Hanwha Group. Yes.
Yeah. So we worked with Qcells to say, look, we really want to push more production. How would it be helpful? And so we came up with our agreement, and we've been funneling a number of our suppliers into discussions with Qcells, and then those discussions have manifested into supply arrangements, EPC arrangements, and things like that. And so we hope to continue doing that and to spread that more globally. But this was our sort of test case to see how this would work. And we're looking at other equipment, quite frankly.
Yeah, no, that's great. Obviously, this was a big undertaking, obviously from your team as well as from Qcells team. And I'm very pleased that we were able to come to terms, and obviously a lot more needs to be done. A lot more companies are interested to follow suit. And I guess, as always, Microsoft is a trailblazer, and I appreciate what you've done. I guess talk a little bit about your team. How big is it? Are you focused? I know you're not only focused on the US. Where else are you focusing on?
Yeah, so we're globally focused. And I looked this morning to make sure I got the right number. Growing recently. I have 23 people on my team right now, just focused on carbon-free, 100, 100, 0, and renewables. I also ingested a risk team where we look at our long and short positions in each of the wholesale electricity markets, both from a load and the generation side. Excuse me, but we operate globally in every market where Microsoft operates. We are divided into kind of 5 functional areas now. I have my originators who go out and do the transactions, so power purchase agreements, LFAs, tolling agreements, whatever type of agreement we need to do to contract for an asset. They will go out and source deals. They will negotiate those deals, execute the deals. Those deals then go into our contract management system, and that gets transferred over to our asset managers. Now, they're not like an asset manager like O&M and so forth, but they are here to manage all of the 200 plus contracts we have across the globe. Those are just renewables contracts or carbon contracts. That does not include all of our load side contracts. The asset management team is basically, they work with our sellers to ensure that folks are hitting our delivery milestones, hitting timelines, working through any of the adverse circumstances that are coming up these days, whether it's a permitting issue, interconnection issue, it's a tariff or delay issue. So that team focuses on that. I then have a risk and analytics team, which does our spend at risk analysis. We build our own long-term forward forecasts. We ingest forwards and so forth into what's our Sequant model, which gives us our long and short positions, and it gives us sort of a cash flow exposed. We typically, our budget has increased on a year-over-year basis drastically. So when we do our risk analysis, we look at both of our data center load position, but also our renewables positions in each market. And our annual operation budget for electricity is billions of dollars at this point.
Okay.
And so it's a pretty big budget, and we have to control swings as much as possible. And as you can imagine, in the really volatile electricity markets right now, you can have swings like Amy Hood indicated in our previous 10K discussions, that we had a swing of $800 million,
Wow.
right? And that actually happened within
Right.
that happened within a month. All of that has come back out of our budget because things swung in our favor again.
Right.
But there's a lot of emphasis on making sure that we're being really prudent around cash flows. I then have a team, several people focused on environmental justice and bringing more transparency and so forth into renewables. And then I have my supply chain team, which works with folks like Qcells and others, try to bring more of these collaborations together.
Right. That's helpful. I guess this being your 4th big tech company, and you've done procurement, I guess, for all of them for quite some time. Talk a little bit about, I guess, the evolution, maybe the challenges you were facing with offtake back in whenever 2010 to when you started 2009 to where you are now? I guess the challenges then, the challenges now.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is like the challenges then are just sort of commonplace for me now. Like we do these things and it's not a challenge, right? Like, so when I
Right.
first started at Apple, it was, we were going out to get market-based rate authority, right? So that we could be like Rio Tinto or any of these other companies who were manufacturing or industrial companies, but they had the ability to trade on wholesale power markets. That was a big lift, right? We had to convince folks that our energy spend and our exposure and our need to do sustainability was so important that we would go out and become a FERC regulated entity, right? So
Right.
going through that whole process at Apple, those were the challenges then. It was largely education and educating our executive teams on this is what projects look like. This is how a fixed to float swap works. This is what it's going to cost us. It's not like printing cash, right? We are buying an intangible commodity and we're trying to green the economy. So there's going to be a cost. So those were the first pieces of sort of complexity. There was no real thought of how are we going to build a team and how are we going to scale to be more like an energy company. It was like, do we have a couple people who are doing procurement and can they continue to do 2 or 3 deals a year or 4 deals in a couple different markets, not multiple markets? That has transitioned over time, right? It's become more complex. We are less running this as a side hustle, and now it is the hustle for us.
Right.
Right. So now we are treating this like we're an energy company. And so the challenges now are less about getting those sort of getting market-based rate authority or building your program. It's more about how do we hit these lofty goals that we have? Like we're doing 65 power purchase agreements a year plus. So that's like over a power purchase agreement a week, right? And these are really complex deals. And we're not just doing unit contingent fixed to float swaps. We are doing a lot more complex deals. We're integrating fuel cells and batteries and all these other items that create a lot of accounting issues for us.
Right.
We're spending a lot of time working through the accounting issues and building the actual tools that we need and trying to do that at a pace that means we can hit our goals, because our load on a cloud basis just continues to grow exponentially, right? So
yeah, and that's what I heard, I guess, from your company as well as other companies, that by the time you're done negotiating PPAs, you're already behind where your next load is taking you.
Yep. Yeah, that's what keeps me up at night. Like my team can't go any faster. Like we cannot do any more deals and maintain the level of quality I want us to maintain.
Okay.
But we're not, we could do double the deals we're doing now and still be kind of like, we probably should do more.
Yeah. Give me a little bit of a sausage making of, I guess, us developers trying to negotiate those multiple PPAs with you. What are the fundamentals, I guess, of a successful and attractive project that Microsoft and others, corporate off-takers, are looking for?
You know, I think it's less about what's a successful and attractive project, because look, an attractive project has interconnection, has permitting, doesn't have a lot of public scrutiny and pushback. You know, we love looking at wind and solar and batteries and all these combinations of things. That stuff's all awesome. So I think we all know what a well-developed project looks like.
Right.
Our biggest issue is the markets are tumultuous right now, right?
They are.
It's easy to do deals when the market's pretty straightforward. Yes, the markets a couple of years ago were very buyer friendly and prices were really low, and now things have sort of transitioned. But what I found on this side of the table is transparency is the most critical piece. Like, we want to know when there are issues with projects. Like if we're going to contract a project or we're going to work through, if you come and tell me, oh yeah, interconnection's all solid, we're good to go. And then you come back 3 months later and you're like, actually interconnection's 60 million when we thought it was going to be 12. And now the price is going out, we can't build this project. We need insight into the issues and we need a counterparty that's willing to work through it. Because my team is like, look, we're pretty fanatical about certain provisions in our contract, right? We have to be, because our portfolio is 20 gigawatts. I have to have cost constraints in there, but we will work through all these other things. So like pricing or indexation, delays and timing like that we'll work through. So really what's important to us is a smart counterparty who is very transparent about what's going on and is not afraid to give us the bad news. My issue is most people don't want to give me bad news. And it's not bad. It's way worse to delay giving that news to us than it is to just say, hey, we found this out, rip the Band-Aid off and let's figure out a solution.
So what you're saying, come to you early, I guess, with whatever potential issues in the name of transparency, and try and figure out together.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like when it becomes like when you've exhausted everything internally to sort of try to solve the problem and you're like, okay, this is going to require a much more robust fix. Coming to us at that point and saying like, either, yeah, we don't need your help, but we wanted you to know that this is going on. Or two, how can we think creatively about, a replacement project or bridge recs or something else, something that will help sort of bring the deal together. Or if we can weigh in on, interconnection issues.
Bring modules.
Exactly.
Or EPC services.
Modules or EPC services or inverters, things like that, where we can sort of lean into our supply network and try to bring that. It even be financing, right? Like you're like,
right.
We're not finding the right tax equity or the right equity partner. We know all those folks these days. So we're happy to sort of make introductions.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So what do you think made and keeps allowing Microsoft to be the trailblazer in procurement? Is it the purchasing power? Is it obviously the awesome people like you and your team, 23 of you? What is it?
I don't know that we're a trailblazer, but I do love that we are trying to be as creative as possible and go beyond just traditional procurement activities. But what I think drives us is, and I know this is going to sound so cheesy, but Satya, Amy, and Brad Smith, who are our executive team, and my CO&I leader, Noel Walsh, they are so interested and so committed to doing what they think is best for our customers. And it's funny because it's not just like, oh, are you using a Surface notebook or whatever? They consider our customers everyone, right? Like we engage, Microsoft engages with such a wide swath of folks globally, whether it's through Xbox or search engines or whatever. So they're really into ensuring long-term longevity for Microsoft, but for our customers and building a much more robust ecosystem for everyone. So that has driven us all. That trickles down because they let me hire folks that are super sharp, maybe more senior in role, and they're letting me attack this like I'm an energy company, not like I do this as my side hustle. If we were doing this as a side hustle, we would not be pushing the bounds as far as we're pushing them. I think one of the other things is just a willingness to fail and looking at failure as an opportunity to learn from it and move forward, right? And not you failed, this sucks, you're canned. We definitely, for every announcement we've made, we've tried probably 10 or 12 other things that just haven't worked.
Right. And obviously you don't announce those. Like you don't post pictures of yourself on Instagram crying. I mean, sometimes maybe.
No, I don't have any social media.
I know. Let's go back briefly to the offtake and the PPAs that you were describing. I guess, what is the flavor du jour these days? Is it fixed price or is it floating, indexing? How are you, I guess, what are you comfortable doing with your developers?
I mean, I'm comfortable trying anything with the right sort of counterparty. What we are looking at is, I mean, look, from my perspective, from finance perspective, fixed price is the easiest for us to do because we have certainty, we go and get approval. Most of our deals are a couple $100 million to $1 billion in notional value. Those have to go up to Amy Hood and the board for approval typically. I don't want to take a project up a second time to get approval for a price increase or things like that with indexation, but we will do that, right? We understand where the markets are. So I would say we definitely prefer fixed price contracts, understanding that these days there's a lot of risk premium baked into that fixed price, but if we can make the economics work, we would prefer to go that way. But we've looked at all sorts of different indexation. The problem with indexation is what index are you using to sort of tie to your pricing? What's the duration of the change in pricing? Are you looking at this quarterly, monthly, hourly? Like how are you tying all these things together? And when do you lock that price? Like when can it no longer be indexed? When does it just, this is the cost, that is it? I mean, that you come to this, and yeah, interest rates and all these other things that's just are kind of blowing us up. So not to sidestep your question, but I would say it's a mix of everything. And we're having, because we operate in so many different markets, we have to look at a different flavor of procurement and sort of commercial structure in each of the markets.
Yeah, especially with quite a few, I guess, CapEx elements, transformers including, have a very long pole, right? Very long lead. And I assume in your evaluations, you value and I guess assign certain preferential attributes to projects that have secured GSU, and they know that they will come online at the time they're telling you they will come online.
Yep, absolutely. Right. That's when we have a counterpart that reaches out and says, hey, I've got a project here, X, Y, and Z. And hey, by the way, I have all the supply lined up, or I've engaged with Qcells and I've lined up supply already. That's really helpful, right? Like that shows that those folks are committed to getting this done, and it's not just a developer flip.
Yeah, and I think from that perspective, we are uniquely positioned that we are one of the world's largest diversified clean energy companies that obviously EPC, full scale development, modules. We now offer another service, battery storage energy system integration. So we certainly are ready for business. Let's stay on the PPA subject. You've talked about customers, you've talked about developers. Tell me more about your appetite. I know you have a lot of experience dealing with utilities, the incumbent utilities in regulated territories, sleeves, and all that fancy stuff. Talk to me about how comfortable you are. What are some of the pitfalls, and I guess how do you overcome?
Yeah, I mean, gosh. And yeah, and I'm just trying to think back, like the first sleeve deals that we did, or tariff deals with NV Energy or like Mid-American, or that's been a while. There are a lot more opportunities now than there were in like 2014. I think, I mean, look, our favorite, like if we got everything we wanted just on a commercial standpoint, would be like, cool, we're going to do a fixed price, you deliver to our load carbon free electricity, and it just stays there, and like they get your resource online, they show us that it delivers to us, and they they charge us whatever an LGS4 or a large generator or a large load rate tariff, and it's just all baked into what we pay at the retail meter. That's the best.
Doesn't happen.
I'm trying to think of like, I can't think of any of that. NV Energy has something like that, but it takes a while to get in there, and you have to have a certain size and so forth. I think the biggest piece, and again, this goes back to less what's in the contract and more to 10 years ago, utilities were like, hell no, we're not doing this with you. Like, that's stupid. We're not going to waste our time. You're being ridiculous. Come back some other time when you have a rational ask. There were certain utilities who actually started to listen because data center load was so large that they were like, cool, we'll take you a little bit more seriously with 100 to 600 megawatts of load in the next 2 years. And so those conversations started, and they've really progressed really far. But what I found in our discussions with utilities and things like that is a lot of times customers or folks on the tech side will approach them like they know what the hell is going on, and they don't listen to what the utility is saying. They don't take to heart that they have rate base, they have rate payers, they have a PUC. They are not willing to move as fast as we may like them to move, but there's a reason for that, right? They have to check all these boxes. The utility space is not a fast moving space. It's getting a lot faster. But I think acknowledging that we're not the sharpest dudes in the room, or dudettes or ladies or men or whatever, that we need to work with them as partners. And if they are raising concerns, whether or not we think they are legitimate on our side, they're legitimate to them. So you have to pay attention and try to sort of craft your agreements around them. We have had great success with our utility partners because they've come to us and said, wow, you're actually listening to us. We really appreciate that. We're now willing to do X, Y, and Z that we had said no to in the beginning, right? We're pushing utilities that I never thought would listen to us on doing more environmental justice work and things like that, where they're incorporating that into tariffs and building community-based programs and projects that we are funding that I 5 years ago would have said this is never going to happen, right? So I think tariffs are a really important tool, especially for folks that don't have a 20-something person team and, a balance sheet as large as ours, right? So I think larger customers like ourselves need to be helping build those tariff programs out so that smaller customers can partake of the benefits of those. Because really, they're not risky, right? They're just a cost.
Right.
You're not wearing market risk. You're not wearing operational risk. You're just paying a fee and it's fixed and you know what your exposure is.
I think it's a good, thank you. I think that's a good segue, Adrian, because, I ask this question every conference I go to. I mean, it's great that all you big tech companies are, again, trailblazers. You are making it happen. Additionality is important. A lot of steel in the ground is because of your procurement and commitments. So thank you. How do you pull in the Fortune 2000? How do you pull in the smaller companies into who are sitting on the fence or sidelines and are still trying to figure out? Obviously, there are associations, SEBA and others that are trying to promote that. But how do we go from, I guess, obviously you are making the biggest difference, the big companies, but how do we pull into this fold a lot more of the smaller off-takers who really have aspirations but don't know how to get to that point?
I don't have a good answer for you. I'll be very blunt. I mean, we've been trying to get smaller buyers in for a while, right? I think it's a whole mix of the above. I think the IRA is going to help here in the US. I think right now, because of where prices are for power purchase agreements, where risks are, where uncertainty and sort of getting creative is, I think it's harder for small buyers to get in the market right now, right? Because there's just a lot of additional risks. And quite frankly, I would tell some folks to wait because if you don't have a team or a good advisor, you're going to get yourself into a world of hurt because the markets are so complex right now. I think the way we're looking at it to bring smaller buyers in is a couple ways. One, through our EJ program, where we're working and doing, and this isn't Fortune 2000 companies, this is communities where we operate our data centers. We're building 501c3s and things like that, that basically we will fund through, some type of percentage off of power purchase agreements or things like that. The funds in those then go to building distributed energy projects for residential low-income communities. They will go into energy initiatives and things like that. We're trying to expand that to larger sort of global scale. Like, how can we bring as much distributed in together to give us a larger volume and do tax equity and RECs and all these kind of things to expand our footprint for like scope 3 emissions and things like that. And on the other side, we're lucky because we have so many customers, right? I have so many different Azure customers, so many different 365 customers. And I would say probably on a weekly basis, between 3 and 5 of them reach out to say, hey, would you be willing to talk about renewables? We want to understand how you're doing it, what you're thinking about. And so we will go and have educational conversations with them. We'll kind of lead them through our procurement program, give them some basics. And if we can, we'll loop them into with the deals we're doing, or we'll try to do deals that will, be in their backyard or beneficial to them. I think that isn't going to solve the problem, right? SEBA and other organizations are really helpful. But I think it's just staying the course. In a matter of time, it'll eventually be sort of more commonplace for everyone to do it.
A few years ago, aggregated VPPAs were all the rage. We've signed on my previous company a few of those. And I think there was a lot of talk of, you big tech companies being sort of the anchor tenant, and then you pull in the smaller people, the smaller companies rather. Is that still happening? Is this still around?
Some aggregations are happening, but as you've been part of an aggregation, you can probably realize that they are
pain in the neck here. Yeah.
But I mean, it's like you would think it would be relatively straightforward, but then you're trying to backstop with our credit or our position on PPAs, and then you get folks that come in and are like, well, no, I want this and that and this, and you're like, well, you're taking a very small portion of this. Like, okay, we're negotiating to benefit us, and that will benefit you. So it probably takes what, 4x the amount of time to get one of those done that it does a traditional deal. And honestly, you're only bringing in 3 or 4 other counterparts, and it's probably who have done an aggregated deal before. And if they haven't, it's a pretty small volume. It's just hard. We also procure on such a large scale, right? Like I'm procuring 6 gigawatts a year, or my team, I should say my team is procuring 6 gigawatts a year. We don't go out and do a lot of small deals unless they're brought all together in a portfolio and aggregated, right? So it's harder to do the aggregated deals with a consortium of customers. We have seen folks like 3 Degrees and Schneider and others continue to try to push those deals. I think Level 10 is as well. But we just, from where we need to be in decarbonizing, we don't see that as a hugely helpful tool for us just because of the amount of time it takes.
Right.
We are looking at them. We are working on a couple of them, but yeah, they're slow going.
Right. Let me pivot. There's no lack of news in recent history. I think one of the I'm not gonna name, but tax equity, direct tax equity investment from one of the corporate off-takers, not only a PPA, but it's packaged with their tax equity, I guess, investment into the project. Is it something that we'll see more of? I don't know if you want to comment about Microsoft's desire, but is this something new?
We definitely engage in tax equity. The tax credits will be really interesting. We don't think they're as simple as everyone's making them out to be from an accounting perspective and from a process perspective. So we've had a ton of folks come in like, oh, it's X, Y, and Z, and it's just easy. And I'm like, I don't think so. Sorry. I think that's all great. And I know there is a scarcity of tax equity right now. We were just talking to some banks the other day about this and showed us a graphic where here's what we need for tax equity and here's what there is. And we're like, oh God, that's shelter right now. So we definitely are engaged in tax equity, tax credit, all of those pieces. The issue for us is we can't do tax equity and a PPA because that's a capital lease.
Right.
So we have to be pretty careful about bringing those two pieces together. But what we have found is that trying to aggregate and bring together distributed deals into a larger portfolio where we will step in and provide the tax equity and say, yeah, we're willing to take some of that credit risk. And then we'll take the renewable energy attributes or something like that. We are seeing a lot more of those type of deals come forward. But yeah, I mean, tax equity is really only applicable in the US market. We are looking at investment in other markets and things like that. But I would say for us, nothing's off the table right now. Our aspirations are so large and our appetite is so big that if we think we can make the tool work and it's prudent, then we'll use it.
Okay. Let's switch to technology. Are you technology agnostic, or are you obviously looking always at optimizing your holdings and the portfolio and the needs of your specific data centers? Talk to me, I guess, about your appetite for procuring different technologies. Obviously, wind, PV, but also storage. Is that on the horizon for you? Hydrogen, anything else?
So I am technology agnostic to a certain extent, right? Because we're trying to mix, we have our 100-100-0 goals, which is trying to be as carbon neutral in every hour of every day as possible for all of our load, right? That's our 2030 goal. Some ways that's a ridiculous goal because generation technology shows up, we're not generating in certain shoulder hours or midnight or whatever. But it is driving us to come up with creative solutions. So we do have a global portfolio, right? So I do need to balance my generation mix and try to bring it up as much generation and carbon-free generation in each hour as possible. There's also, shape differentials and degradation and things like that you get from wind or solar in certain markets. So we do have to balance all of those pieces out. But yeah, we have some really cool fuel cells type stuff in our portfolio. We've got batteries, we have wind, solar, geothermal. We will make some announcements coming up with some really cool stuff we've just figured out or we are working on. When I said I was sort of technology agnostic, the one thing I will say is I hear a lot about H2 and how awesome it'll be in an electrolyzer. H2 is a low density fuel.
Right.
It makes no sense in an electrolyzer. It makes tons of sense for heating and cooling.
Right.
It makes tons of sense for transportation.
Yeah.
Network figured out. But from a data center perspective and from using it as backup generation or wholesale generation, makes no sense to us.
What would it take for energy storage, I guess, to displace generators, backup generators that a lot of data centers have to rely on? Is it cost curve? Is it what?
Duration, cost curve and duration. We need
Duration.
to be able to stand up and generate for 48 hours and not have an issue, right? Because you just continually dump diesel into a genset or low carbon diesel or green diesel into a genset and you just run it, right? The footprint for batteries is also significantly larger. So
Yeah.
there are technologies like mainsprings, linear engine, that's a fuel cell that will run on ammonia, hydrogen, LNG, and all these other things, and they're stackable and a whole bunch of things. So there's a lot of technology out there for the backup that we're looking at. Batteries definitely play a role there. So I don't think they're going to displace gensets altogether, but they are displacing certain portions of gensets or some of the other sort of quick start items that we need. But yeah, I mean, we're looking at a lot of that. So the issue with batteries right now is, again, we're trying to get as much forced labor out of our supply chain as possible. And a lot of the minerals and mining and access rights to the minerals used in batteries and the elements used in batteries are from conflict areas, or they're really, it's not a very clean supply chain. So we're trying to work through that as well.
Yeah, I think around the same time as we announced the deal with you, Qcells announced a $2.5 billion investment which is, I think, I know it is the largest investment in solar history in the US. And so we are really looking at all the supply chain, of course, to bring it
and that's why we partner.
Domestic.
You all, like us, are trying to push wherever you can to improve the market.
Serious about it.
And make really significant strides. We really appreciate that.
Okay, let's do this. I do have a couple more questions that I kind of wanted to explore with you, but I kind of want to start wrapping up so that we can answer some of the Q&As. I know Nick is collecting those. I guess, okay, so you, Adrian, and your team can continue procuring, 6 gigawatts and doubling, tripling, to meet the demand of Microsoft. Is there anything, what would you dream of that something takes place and is a complete game changer? And rather than this usual pace of you procuring and projects being delivered, is there something that, a tooth fairy comes and brings it to you?
Yeah, I mean, tooth fairy to be fusion actually works. Right? Like I would love if fusion actually got off the ground. Because that's there's no fuel issues, there's no sort of electricity issue, there's no long-term issues there. So that would be really cool. I will flip this on its head a little bit. I would like people to stop adopting AI so quickly, not because I don't think it's awesome, but like killing me from a low growth perspective.
I know.
It's the coolest thing, and it's scary and awesome. But like, joking aside, I would love ChatGPT and AI to step into our world and just make the procurement process like, cool, two computers talk to each other, do the deals, and boom, we're done, right? I mean, that's not great. I joke that I want to, my real goal is to work up my team and myself out of a job because we're carbon free and so forth. And now I get a little concerned. I'm like, shit, ChatGPT could do that potentially. Ways. But no, I joking aside, I think the goals that we have to be carbon neutral and decarbonize the grid, it's going to take time, right? And I don't know if we have that time or not. But my hope and my sort of like, if I could have my wish, would be that we just keep having companies like ourselves and other governments and entities continuing to do this, right? And we make it just sort of mainstream, and it's no longer a sustainability item. It's just how you procure energy, how you go out and do things.
Right, and it makes economic sense, right? So that's the win-win. I guess in a way, yeah, my last question was going to be, is there a call to action from you, Adrian, to other corporates, other buyers who have transacted, have not transacted, and I guess a call to action to developers like Qcells?
I mean, I think developers are doing great. All in all, mostly. There are some that I'm just like, why can't you guys get your head out of here? But I would say my call to action is I want to be one-upped. Right?
Okay.
Someone else come and do a better, cooler deal than our Qcells deal. We're going to make some more announcements here in April. I want to be one up by the other players like Amazon and Google and others. Like, cool, you announced like you're doing a bunch of gigawatts in certain markets. So what?
Right.
Like that's great and I appreciate it, but like show me that you can think more creatively, that you can do the procurement, because we all know how to do that now, and that you can create initiatives that go beyond that. And that would be my call to companies like ourselves, but also to developers. Like, what do you got? Show me, let's get creative. The PPA was a tool that was created and it wasn't supposed to last all that long, right? As I recall, like when we were having conversations early on with folks who were doing this, like they thought the PPA was great, it was going to be a tool, and then eventually this would be commoditized and it wouldn't be needed anymore. We haven't gotten there yet, so I would like to continue pushing to get somewhere like that.
Okay. Well, this has been great. I guess the inaugural fireside chat. There are a couple of questions. I'm sure Nick has more, but Adrian, what are your thoughts for long duration energy storage?
I love it. We need it, especially us as data center companies. We need long duration storage, especially if we wanted to supplant diesel gensets and so forth. We are definitely looking at a number of different long duration storage technologies. I think we're relatively close on our first 1 or 2 transactions in that space. But we see it as a super important piece of the puzzle.
Okay, is it something that you would be willing to partner with, I guess, technology providers if they don't want to test pilot? Or
yeah, I mean, if it's the right technology, the right provider, and they have a good thesis and sort of working beta, yeah, absolutely. We have our DAD team is our data center advanced development team. They do all of our sort of research and so forth for liquid cooling and batteries and all those different technologies. So, I mean, if it gets through their screening and there's an opportunity for us, we would absolutely partner. We are doing that. So,
okay. This next question, I think, is almost in response to your one-up challenge. How do you win the same projects that Amazon?
Wait, I'm sorry, I lost you there.
How do you win projects? I guess I assume, how do we win? How do you come ahead of Google, Amazon, and others as Microsoft in really getting the projects? Because there is limited supplies of projects.
There's absolutely limited supply, and I think there's always competition. You always win or lose some. I'm pretty particular on the quality of the projects I work on, the terms and conditions in my contracts, and doing repeat business with folks that show up continually and deliver. So I think what we've done at Microsoft is we've a lot of relationships. So we have Qcells or Brookfield or a whole host of companies that we've for a while who continually show up and deliver me projects, right? And there's like, hey, and they come back and we've worked with them. On our side, we're willing to work through deal issues or problems, and we're not like, cool, terminate, collect your security. I mean, I will terminate and collect your security if you piss me off or you violate the contract.
That's the stick, of course.
I'll be very clear. But I think I don't necessarily know that we're winning. Just it's being a rational counterpart, and we try to consistently do that. So I don't engage in those negotiations for Google or Amazon anymore. I don't know what they're doing, but we've done pretty well, and we continue to get good supply. So can't complain.
Yeah, and not that you need any prop up from me, but I can attest. You're quite reasonable.
It's fun to do deals, right? And you're not going to win if I get the best position ever and you get a shit position, right? Like, and vice versa. It's got to be balanced. We both have to be smiling and crying at the same time, right?
That's right.
Some happiness in the project.
That's right. I think there were only a couple of questions. Nick, if you want to come back, I don't know if there are other questions that came through directly to you.
Sure. This one, what is the biggest challenge for renewable development? That might be kind of directed towards Vitaly.
Well, there are quite a few interconnection queues, NOPR, everybody talks about it, availability of land. And surprisingly, supply chain, I guess all the typical ones. Surprisingly, I think one of the biggest challenges is talent. There's a lot of new developers, newcomers, and the companies that have been doing it, they continue growing, obviously, in response to all the demand. And so we're all competing for talent, and it has been challenging. We've been very fortunate here at Qcells as well. We've scaled the development team. We are 35 members strong now, and we continue growing as our pipeline continues. I think that's the challenge.
One last question. It's kind of directed toward Qcells, but I think you could ask Microsoft as well. But what has changed for Qcells since IRA? And I'll add in Microsoft for that matter too.
Let's have Adrian
I was
just
going to say, for
address
us,
that.
the IRA, I mean, there are more tools for us to look at from a tax and sort of procurement perspective. I mean, I think our deal, and Jihoon, who's my counterpart at the manufacturing side, I think he would agree that like the IRA is great. Our deal with Qcells, we had actually started talking about it before the IRA and sort of how we would get around that. And the IRA only bolstered, when it came out, only bolstered sort of our thinking that it was important to do this and important to push domestic supply. I'm not saying we were smart enough to get ahead of the IRA or anything like that. It just, I think it reinforced that we were moving in the right direction and hopefully, figuring something out that would be helpful for the industry.
Yeah, I think for us, obviously, it improved project economics, gave certainty. We obviously, all of us are trying to capitalize on the adders. We are looking at guaranteeing domestic content, starting with 25 COD. But also, it actually opened a universe, I think, of additional buyers. We at Qcells are very comfortable with bill transfer scheme. And so utilities, are interested with their transferability capabilities and direct pay and other things. So it for us, I think that was, in my mind, in addition to all the great things that the IRA brought, it also opened up a pool of buyers for our projects.
That's all the questions I have, Vitaly. I'll let you wrap it up there.
Yeah, well, we're gonna wrap it up. Adrian, you're a fantastic guy. I know
Same with you.
Microsoft is a great place, and you belong there. Your team, good luck to your team as you really are trying to fill your lofty goals. I know you're doing a great, and you'll do more. I guess for the rest of the folks who dialed in, this is first. I hope you enjoyed this. We have lined up a few amazing speakers as well, so stay tuned.
Thank you very much for having me participate. It was awesome, and as always, pleasure.
Thanks,
chatting.
Adrian. Thanks. Have a great day.
Have a great day, everyone. Thanks so much.